I have great pleasure in introducing Phil Broadbery from ClerksWell, and he'll be giving a presentation about marketing automation. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Thanks, Roger. Evening all. My name's Phil Broadbery. I work for a company called ClerksWell. We're relatively new to the Sitecore family. We got involved with Sitecore a couple of years ago. Started with 6.5, so slightly spoilt in a way that we came into the group when the DMS was released. So all of our projects have led with DMS engagements and people really keen on things like marketing automation and personalisation services. I'm Client Services Director there. Our business is split in two. We deliver internet projects based on Sitecore and intranet services based on SharePoint. So two sides of the company, and I look after the Sitecore side. Why I thought this was a good topic for a technical user group is that there's a lot of demand for marketing automation services in marketing departments. There's a lot of hype about it in the industry. There's some fantastic case studies out there for really great results. All marketing department driven. Sitecore has some fantastic tools within it for marketing automation services, but sadly very few Sitecore clients are actually have marketing automation services deployed. Why that is, maybe partly because the DMS is relatively new, coming out in 6.5. Also, marketing departments have got lots of other priorities to focus on. But those that have adopted marketing automation see some huge results. There aren't any marketing automation templates that come with Sitecore, and that kind of makes me wonder that if there were more templates that came with the product, then more companies would use it. And that sort of drove me to say, well, let's come to a technical user group and talk about it, and maybe we can encourage some community activity around developing more marketing automation templates and services to increase the adoption rate within the community. So for an agenda, just going to talk briefly about definition of marketing automation and benefits, why people do this, and show you some examples of where we've used it on client sites and our own sites, and some things that we've been doing with it. How to create it in Sitecore. Now this might be a bit tame for you guys, because you're used to sort of seeing some fairly hardcore coding. This is going to be going into engagement plans and setting up engagement plans. But in there I want to show you sort of one of my favourite features of Sitecore 6.6 around audience segments. And I think the more the technical teams talk about this kind of stuff to project managers and marketeers, the more we can get sort of this sort of stuff in projects. And then finally some questions at the end. So for a definition, well, marketing automation, clue kind of is probably in the name, to automate marketing services, which usually means defining a series of steps in a campaign, whether that campaign might be to encourage people to come to a webinar, or to download your latest fabulous white paper or promotional material, and then follow that up and nurture that prospect through a series of predefined steps. To set up those steps, one example that I took from a competitor on their website was this, which is promoting a free report or promoting a piece of literature that you wanted to sell. Now this really comes from the email marketing space, so marketing automation services were driven from the email community initially, and this example is one of those where I will send out an email to promote a free report, and then repeat that email a number of times over a few days until someone comes along and completes a web form. When they complete that web form, we can update their user profile and perhaps send them a link to a relevant case study to that report. If they then come in and download that case study, we can up their lead score, update the CRM system, pass it on to the sales team who can give them a call, and the sales team have got a lot more information to try and have a conversation and engage in a particular sale. So that's the kind of the process, and a typical marketing automation tool that you buy will have all of the component parts to build up that kind of process. Sitecore has all those component parts, but it doesn't have any templates, unfortunately, so you have to create them all from scratch. which can be a little bit scary for a marketing department. Very tame for a Sitecore developer, not very hardcore for a Sitecore developer to do it, but pretty tough for your average marketing team. So they're the component parts we'll see in a marketing automation plan. All of these things are within Sitecore, being able to set up and monitor bulk email campaigns using Email Campaign Manager, create landing pages really easily, web forms for marketeers, great form building tool. So we've got all of the component parts in Sitecore, but it's not really really intuitive for a marketing department to just pick them up and get them deployed. They need Sitecore partner or Sitecore developer help to deploy it. Hence the call, and you'll hear me say it many times, hence the call to trying to get some community building, to get some tools together for quick start services. Oh, yeah. So, benefits. Why people do this? Increasing conversion rates, increasing campaign effectiveness. So, if you look at Forrester or e-consultancy, Smart Insights, they do lots and lots of analysis into the effectiveness of marketing automation campaigns. You normally see 3-4-fold kind of increases in campaign effectiveness when marketing automation has been deployed effectively. They're the kind of case studies that you see out there. Some quite impressive numbers. So if you're doing an email campaign to 20,000 people and you get a 2-fold increase in response rates, pretty good. It's well worth doing. Lead nurturing, so taking people through a defined set of steps that you want them to go through in their journey to buy your product or to sign up to your exciting things. To save time, the automation piece, and to make your sales team more effective by lead nurturing and lead scoring. Sadly, it's not the trendiest thing in the world. This is an e-consultancy report that came out this year, and on areas of investment with marketing teams. So at the top there we've got content marketing, conversion rate optimization, social media, etc. And marketing automation down here in a lowly sort of 8th or 9th place, and actually dropping year on year in terms of investment area. That's a bit worrying. Let's go, oh my God, I'm talking about the wrong thing here. I should be talking about content marketing or something else. But when you think that marketing automation is really an enabling technology to increase conversion rates, to increase your targeting and personalisation, it's driving all of these things. So it's really important for these kind of big investment areas. It's an enabling tool. So really, marketing automation is a tool to drive these top areas. So that's kind of where I say this should be high on your list. This should be high on your client's list as something that they should be thinking about investing in, because the results are there. The case studies are out there. It does provide some fantastic improvements. So that's kind of me jabbering on about the industry for a little bit. Let's talk about some examples and put one of these together and show you my favourite Sitecore 6.6 feature. So this is from a client side. So I put this up here just to show you standard web forms for marketeers, form to download a brochure, and this form does lots of good stuff. When you hit send, lots of save actions in there to save it to the database, to send an email off to the sales team, to enrol this visitor in an engagement plan, and the engagement plan that we get enrolled in is this little simple thing, which was our first engagement plan for our first Sitecore projects early last year. The web forms for marketeers save action will enrol people in the first state, and they'll automatically drop through the first action, which emails them a brochure. Alright, that was brilliant. That's a fantastic piece of work to do for us. That's sent out via Email Campaign Manager, which allows us to have attachments and monitor the open rate, click rate, that kind of stuff. And then they get dropped into this pause states, and that they sit there for half an hour. And because this email's got a large attachment, we send them a follow-up email after half an hour saying we've sent it to you. If you haven't got it, check your spam folder. Get in touch. Maybe here's some suggested holidays that you might be interested in. Here's some ideas that you can look at. And then we update their lead score and remove them from the plan. So they never actually get to that final mark. That's not incredibly exciting, I know, quite a simple thing. But you can see how that could be extended out to say, well, after a week, if they haven't come back to the site, maybe send something. When someone comes back to the home page, we can say if someone is sitting in this state, we can personalise content. If someone's ever been in this plan, personalise content on pages. So we can join a lot of things up to this engagement plan and build it up and build it up. One of the nice things that we wanted to do with this one, we couldn't do it in a no-code environment, we had to do a little bit of code, but was to send the sales report. So I'm sure most of you recognise this. This is just a session report out of engagement analytics in Sitecore, and this has got some lovely stuff in it for a salesman, because this tells me what goals I've triggered in my session. It also tells me the profile of that visitor. So when the sales team get the email that says that someone's downloaded a brochure and they want to call back, they get this as well, which is giving them a profile of that visitor. So that helps that conversation. So when the sales guys pick up the phone, what they need is things to have a relevant conversation about. So the more information you get as a sales guy, the more that can help drive a conversation and drive some engagement with the person. So what we look to do here is if the callback button's been checked, then send a link to engagement analytics for the sales guys to log in and find the report. What would be better is to send them a link direct to this report. We haven't done that yet. We're going to do that, but that just needs a line of code to pick out the session ID and pass that into the engagement analytics URL, and that will take someone straight in. That is hugely valuable for a sales team to get pretty much real-time intelligence from the website when a prospect has requested a brochure or callback. Probably one of the most valuable things in that kind of download process for the sales team. Next one that we did as a little exercise was to use Sitecore engagement plans to try and automate the process of increasing likes on a particular page within the same client. So what we did here was set up a Facebook campaign, set up some pages on Facebook, and had some links back to the site. And we used a campaign code in the link. So when it comes into Sitecore says, right, you've triggered that campaign. And in Sitecore campaigns, you can automatically enrol those visitors in an engagement plan. So Sitecore's doing lots and lots of work for us here, because all we've done is create a link with that campaign code, follow that link, that drops that visitor into our first state, and then what we're looking for here is whether the visitors entered the competition. So that's basically if they filled the form in, have they triggered the goal, which is 5 when you complete that competition form. If they have, we move them off to the second stage and send them a confirmation email with a request to like us. Ooh, with a request to like us, and if they do use the like button in the social connector in Sitecore, we can have a goal triggered on that, which takes us up to a final state where we can send them a voucher. So we're just kind of taking the prospect through a little set of steps, giving them a bit of additional value at each step, but asking them for something back, asking them for a like, and then put them into an advocate stage at the end, and they sit there forever. If someone's in that stage, then again on the website we can use that to drive some personalised content. One of the interesting things on this, I'm sure you've all seen this before and used this, but I hope that someone hasn't. This is a supervisor mode of the engagement plan, and what this will show us is each of the states and how many people are in each of those states. So we can move people into different states, move them around, but it's quite a nice way to get a view of how many people are in these plans, where they are, and then trigger additional actions based on it, or insert additional people into a particular stage. Only 2 more of these examples, and we'll create one and talk about putting them together. This was one that we did at ClerksWell for a webinar. So our first piece is to send out a mass email. Just send out bulk email to invite people to a webinar. It was we did a white paper on personalisation using Sitecore. So we had a webinar on that. Send out a mass email and then wait for a couple of days. If people haven't registered, then send them a reminder. If they don't respond to that reminder, we say, okay, so they're not interested, we don't do anything else. But if they do register, they sit in the third state there and just sit there until they trigger this kind of, is it the 14th of April action. So in an action we say, don't trigger this until it's the 14th of April. That's the day before, and then they then get a reminder. Send them a reminder, and then it ends. But that could obviously be extended to say, well, on the 15th or 16th of April, follow up this webinar based on whether someone's come back to the site and done something. So you put this together at the beginning, so 2 months before you're doing your webinar, and then you can just drop new people into this stage. You know, so if you buy a mailing list or go to a conference and pick up another couple of hundred email addresses, you can just pull them in here and then all of this just happens. So you can see how it kind of saves a lot of time and effort within a marketing department. But again, the marketing department have to create these from scratch, because typically as in a cycle project, we tend to stop at building the great CMS and maybe don't give them templates that they can then use to help them with their campaigns. And then the fourth and final example is one that I haven't actually put live, but I thought it was a really nice example. It came off Mike Casey's blog. I think he works at Sitecore US. And what this one is just to put your site visitors into buckets based on their persona. So, you know, Sitecore has these profiles that we can create, and we can tag all our content with this profile information, and then create personas, which based on the content that people have consumed on the site, they'll be dropped into their relevant persona. So in this example, we've got a technical persona and a marketing one. So as people are browsing the site, Sitecore will say, well, you're clearly in our technical bucket, and this engagement plan will just drop them into the relevant space. And as they carry on moving around the site, we can use that to personalised content to help inform the marketing team of what types of people are coming into the site. We make all these kind of guesses when we create profiles around what profiles the business should have. This can show us what the real activity is on a site and what people are actually really doing off. So I thought it was quite a nice idea of Mike Casey's to put this together to really show that profiles and personalisation in action. But as I say, I haven't put it live, but I thought it was a nice idea. This could be the entertainment bit, because this is the bit where I was going to go in and create a plan and show you my favourite little feature. So doing a live demo could always be interesting. So if you bear with me 1 second, let's just flick out of here. Okay, so has everyone here created engagement plans in 6.6? Is this? I mean, this is all known to you guys, yeah? So you all create engagement plans. Okay, so I'm not going to show you anything desperately new in doing this, apart from maybe the end bit around the segmentation piece. So I'm going to do this on Office Core. I'm sure you've all seen and love Office Core. I use that as my example, and this is running on Sitecore 6.6. And what my example here is going to be is our favourite black goose lamp, which seems to get promoted quite heavily. We'll say we're going to set up a webinar on the black goose lamp based on one of the examples I showed you, and set that invitation up to be automatically sent. So if we just dive into Sitecore. And log in with our favourite password. Okay, so as far as the marketing centre, and in the marketing centre is where a lot of our favourite tools are for these marketing automations. So we have our goals. These are all the standard goals that are set up in OfficeCore, including the Black Goose callback form. I've added a couple here. We've got the webinar interest goal and the webinar registered goal. We've got some campaigns. Campaigns are great because you use campaigns, and I love the way they automatically enrol people into engagement plans. I think that's a lovely little tool. And then our engagement plans. So we got a couple of previous ones in here, but if I insert a new engagement plan, and we'll call this our webinar invites. Create our engagement plan and go into our design canvas. Okay, so let's have a first state where we're going to sort of drop people in, based on that example I said earlier, to send them the invite out to our webinar, and we'll just sort of trigger that after a minute. I'll deliberately not do it off a goal for now. We'll just do it just to say after a minute we'll trigger this action, and this action will send out our invite. Sorry as I do that really annoying talking slowly as I'm typing thing. And we'll evaluate this on timeout. And why don't we use, just for example's sake, we'll say make our event trigger on a specific goal's been selected, and we'll choose our webinar interest. Okay, so put that in. And then our actions here, we'll add an action to. Well, why don't we add some points? So we'll add some points to our lead score, and maybe send them an email as well. And send them an email message, and then drop them into our second state to wait for a few days. Wait for a couple of days, and then after that we'll put a time delay here of a couple of days, and then we'll check to see if they've registered for the campaign. So we'll set up a new rule to see if they've triggered the goal that's actually registered them for the webinar. So our webinar registered goal, which is triggered when they complete the registration form. And then finally, there we can send them some join-in instructions perhaps. It almost sounds like I've done this before. Let's wait for the sets. Tomorrow's the 24th. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. So we're updating lead scores, sending emails out, waiting for periods of time. The kind of thing that you want to set up in these types of campaigns, but probably not the kind of things your typical marketing exec is going to be happy to just go in and do. Probably need some support in setting those up, or have some templates to use as a starting point. So let me save that away. Now. I missed an important point on these states with these triggers. Something which Raoul told me yesterday was going to be fixed because it's been registered as a bug. So when you set these states up and assign a trigger to these states, they're all selected. So I've spent a number of days of my life doing this. Apparently it has been registered as a bug, and it will be fixed pretty soon. So they will all be unselected, and then you can choose your favourite one. But in a live deployment, you can end up with quite a few goals. So when you've got to go through and uncheck 95 of them before you can start, it can be a bit frustrating. But Raoul assures me that's going to be fixed very soon. So we saved our engagement plan. Engagement plans being what they are in the marketing centre, we need to deploy them before they're effective. That one's again, I spent a fair number of hours scratching my head thinking why hasn't it worked, and then someone tell me you haven't deployed it again, Phil, just go and deploy it. So we'll deploy it and then it'll be available. So at this point we can join that up to our form or to our campaigns, our email campaigns, drop people in that first state, and then the emails will flow out, wait for a couple of days and send the reminders, and then if I added in that final state, you know, maybe a follow-up and nurture people back into the site after the webinar to maybe download a case study or something. But what I'm going to do now is just go into this supervised mode, because I love this, and you guys might have just you might know about this already and use it all the time, but I just think it's a great little feature. So I'm in supervised mode here, and obviously I've got no one in my engagement plan at the moment because it's just been created. I can look at each of the states and add people in here. Now in 6.5 we would add people in from a CSV file, typically, a list of users that we want to send out to this. But this add a segment feature is really neat, because add a segment allows me to maybe look at every visitor who's ever shown an interest in the Black Goose lamp, and add them into this plan automatically so they get the invitation. So if I call this one interest, and edit the condition, and again we'll do it off a goal where the visitor has triggered a specific goal once. We added in some custom conditions here. I think there's loads of opportunities for developers to do this. We added in some custom conditions to say whether the visitor has ever triggered a goal in its entire lifetime. Quite a quick thing to do, but something that's missing out the standard set. So if I choose my Black Goose webinar, no, my Black Goose callback form completed. So anyone who's ever completed the Black Goose callback form should come out here. And if I say OK on that, so Sitecore's matched that. It said that 69 users in the database that have completed the Black Goose callback form. And if I hit OK here, Sitecore will go and get those users out of the database and add them into my plan. A minute later, let's hit refresh to show that. So there's my 69 users in my first stage of the plan, and a minute later that first action triggered, and they'll all be sent my introduction email and be moved into the next stage of the plan. Adding audience segments like that might not sound very exciting to most of you. I think that's awesome. I think that's an absolutely amazing feature which marketing departments could use just all the time. It's there in Sitecore, but so many clients aren't using it because they're unaware of it, they don't know those features are there, and what they end up doing is going out and buying a marketing automation sort of cloud-based service, like a Silverpop or some kind of email service, that does part of the job. Sitecore's got it all in there. The problem is it's got all the components, but it's got very few templates and sort of kickstarts for clients to use. So we were talking yesterday, we're maybe going to get a community project going to build up a whole series of personalisation conditions, of some sample engagement plans that we can send out to clients in a package so they can just have a look and start playing with these. So that was my wow moment. I was adding in the segments. So what else was I going to say here? Yeah, so creating an example. So just in summary then, the marketing automation space is big, it's huge, there's a lot of investment going into it. Marketeers are excited about it. There's great case studies out there showing huge increases in performance of marketing campaigns if you use it. It's consolidating. So, you know, we all know Oracle or Eloqua. There's lots of consolidation going to go on in the market. Forrester analysts, Gartner analysts are predicting this is going to happen more and more. I'm sure Sitecore are going to buy a couple of people at some point. So the market's consolidating, it's growing. Clients expect these tools. They don't get them all out of the box in Sitecore. They've got all the components there, but they don't get all the templates and so on. So I think clients will expect to see pre-built engagement plans, more custom conditions, more kind of integrations with other CRM systems other than just sort of Dynamics and Salesforce. I think there's a huge amount of opportunities for clients, just purely based on the type of marketing campaign effectiveness you can get, but also lots and lots of opportunities for partners. So every client a Sitecore partner is working with, I suspect, would have a marketing team who would love to be using this kind of stuff. And they're not all using it in Sitecore because they're not all fully aware that Sitecore's got those capabilities. So Sitecore released this SBOS-based engagement, so the Sitecore Business Optimization engagements. So if you're a Sitecore partner and you're not aware of that, I would get aware of it and see whether your business should be thinking about approaching your clients and talking to them about what the Sitecore digital marketing system can do for them. Not only the marketing automation tools, but also the personalization engines and email campaign manager. So I'd encourage you to look that up if you're not already aware of it. And on that note, that's me. So thanks for listening. And if you've got any questions, please fire away. Thank you. One over there.
Yeah, I've got a question. Without the microphone, probably, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's fine. How long approximately took you to... Well, okay. Does it work? Yeah. How long approximately took you about to go through all the process and to be, to be involved in those things? And because before that, probably you didn't know about those things, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we started our Sitecore experience on 6.5. We went on the first jump training course that Sitecore did. So it's a one-day course covering all the digital marketing system. In our first project, first Sitecore project for Natural World Safaris, we implemented every DMS feature, including marketing automation. It was part of that project, and it was days. It was going on the jump course and then creating some examples. It was days of non-developer time for us to get going, so it was more of a consulting exercise. And then all of the things that we've asked the development team to do, the custom conditions and so on, have all been done incredibly quickly. Like that sales report that I was talking to Raoul about last night, one line of code to get that deep linked down to that specific visit. So when I asked the sales team to come up with custom conditions around has the goal been triggered in the whole history of that visitor, that was a couple of hours and that was done and I could start using it. So it was very quick for us to start using the tools, but we did need to go back to the development team just to get these kind of custom conditions and so on set up.
So approximately a couple of days took you, yeah?
Well, for us we went on a jump training course and then we spent a few days fiddling around to get familiar with the tools and then going to the client, talking about their requirements, what they needed, and then setting up those engagement plans. Quick, it doesn't take long.
That's good. Apart from the Sitecore training, did you use any documentation basically providing the SDM? And if you did, what kind of documentation that was?
We didn't use a lot from the documentation from SDN on a DMS.
Okay.
There is some there, but no, I mean no, not a lot from SDN.
So you mean basically training was sufficient enough, right?
The training was sufficient. The jump course is really good. The new SBOS program is really good. That will give your consultants enough information for them to get off and do things. And then the confidence of going into campaigns and engagement plans and creating your own plans. It's kind of a skill set that probably sits between a marketeer and a developer. It's almost like that technical marketing person that you need to go in. So it's very quick and easy to adopt once you know it's there. And you do need a bit of developer support to just add in those bits that you need to make the campaigns really effective.
And any issues basically while you've been doing the training or when you've been trying to do this by yourself, like any surprises or something didn't work exactly what you've been expecting to?
We've registered a few issues with Sitecore along the way.
So one you mentioned already, basically about unchecking the boxes, yeah?
Yeah, I mean that's a slightly annoying thing, but you can work around it. Yeah, we've registered a few issues, but none that haven't been solved quickly. We knew we were on the the bleeding edge when we chose to deploy a 6.5 project, you know, before it went recommended release. So we knew that we were going to come up against some issues, but we took the decision that as we were a new Sitecore partner, we should be on the new version and not spend our time investing in learning 6.4 in the OMS. We kind of made a conscious decision to jump in deeper and go with 6.5 in the DMS. So I won't lie, we certainly came across some issues along the way, but the Sitecore support team have been fantastic. One thing I would love to have is the ability to log DMS issues as a non-certified developer. So as someone who's creating engagement plans and setting up campaigns and so on, I can't log an issue with the support team without going through my development team.
That's good.
Well, it'd be nice if we could log a DMS issue. Yeah, but it just means that it makes it hard because I've then got to go and clear development resource. They won't log a call without doing the due diligence they should do before logging a call. And suddenly every call I log, it takes 3 or 4 hours rather than just putting the call in. So it'd be great if we could do like a DMS support calls with slightly less reliance on a developer.
Thank you.
Hi, are you using any CRM connected to this?
Not with Safaris, no. The CRM functionality they use is kind of within the Sitecore database that I use. No, we're not. The only CRM connectivity we've used with the DMS has been around the email campaign manager, but that's not tied into any of these examples.
Yeah, so because when you talk about like the enterprise solutions, okay, so where you maintain all your leads or applicants, yes, and CRM, and then how you maintain this inbound and outbound communication, maintaining this lead nurturing information in the CRM.
Yeah. So in that, where I did that add points to the to lead scoring. So what you'd use there is the Sitecore Dynamics connector, or create your own sort of custom actions to update your back-end CRM rather than the lead score within the Sitecore profile. So that's kind of where Sitecore gives you all the tools to do these things, but you need that developer to build that custom action to update your CRM system. So no, we've not tied any of these into a CRM.
Okay. I mean, certainly like we need to have some lot of improvements because now we have to choose like email systems like Eloqua, ExactTarget to do all these email campaigns.
Well, on the email campaign front, there's Sitecore got some really nice tools. So the Dynamics connector and the Salesforce connectors, you can join up your target audiences in ECM to marketing lists in Dynamics. So that side of things is kind of covered in the connectors, and the benefit you'll get there is you can use the personalization engine to personalise and target content on the emails based on what's on your visitor's profile. So something that we've done a lot of is every form that's completed on that Natural Safari site, we're creating a user. We're creating a user and updating the user record, writing information back to the profile, so we can then use that profile information in our email campaigns. So I think when it comes to email campaigns, then the enterprise connectivity to Dynamics and Salesforce is there, and you've certainly got the architecture to build your own connections. But within engagement plans, you would have to write your own sort of custom conditions and custom actions, unless anyone knows different.
Thank you.